Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. Intro number 2 in the studio. Thanks so much for all the feedback regarding my Ken Doyle interview. He's an absolute legend. I really believe, he's an iconic figure in Irish music. The Jerry Ryans, 2FM, Q2. Bagatelle, go down with it, all those greats, it was fantastic to meet him. You would think somebody like him, rock star. But what an absolute legend of a man. Fantastic. As I said in the interview, I don't know if I did say it, I missed the first 20 minutes because the camera didn't record. The audio recorded, but the camera didn't. But we had to roll again, and he didn't even fucking bat an eyelid. So it was deadly. So I'm delighted that people really liked the interview. Again, it was soaked and immersed in, if you love what you do, it's not a job. And that can be anything. The job I do today. My dad is a painter and decorator. He fucking loves it. Eats, sleeps and breathes painting. And that's the same with Ken. If he got no money, I think he'd be doing it for the rest of his life. And that was fantastic. Right, so today's interview is with Denis Ryan. So Denis Ryan is a biodynamic psychotherapist. Fantastic interview. Absolutely loved it. He's got a diverse background, bit of trauma himself that he talks in it. Didn't get too deep into it. It's not about the fall, it's about the landing. And I love the work he's done. He's gone right through the whole evolution of psychotherapy, shamanic work he's done. We talk about plant-based medicine, something that I'm really interested in, whether that be mushrooms or ayahuasca plant, But there's a lot of learning in it. I've talked to people recently, oh yeah, I want to do ayahuasca, but I'd be like, have you done the journey? Have you gone through psychotherapy? Do you mind yourself? Do you eat, sleep, drink, eat, getting all the ducks in a row before you jump into the likes of ayahuasca? Go to your therapy. How spiritual are you? And that's not like trying to be highbrow about it. That is the evolution of your journey. You can't just jump into plant-based medicine. Not that you can't. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not something I would do. I'd learn about myself, understand what I need to do for myself before you go to that. And we covered that in, and he's got an absolute lovely approach. He's very mild-mannered, lovely tone about him. There's a genuineness and a warmth in his talk. And I absolutely loved it. I could really connect with him. After the interview, I did go on. I'd done a workshop with him, an integrative plant-based medicine. There was kind of some visual meditation. We done some artwork, mandala drawn. It was fucking incredible. I'm due to go to another workshop with him. It's on the Embodied Mindfulness, and I'm really looking forward to it. It was only a small little group in the workshop, and it was lovely. It was a great setting. It was a mix between men and women, and which is great to see. It wasn't all just predominantly men or women, so it was lovely. It was a great diversity within the group, and with experiences, people there. In the last one, we're talking about hugging trees and talking to the trees. I was like, this is fucking bananas. No judgment, I just thought it was nuts, but I absolutely loved it. And the women that were talking about hugging the trees, they were fucking sound, and I loved it. Yeah, so check out this interview. Let us know what you think. Get back onto us. Give us your feedback. Hopefully it will open your mind to different types of therapy, whether it be psychology, psychotherapy, spirituality. And that's what this podcast is all about. It's about you asking yourself different questions, difficult questions, aha moments. I didn't know that. These are all things I've took from other podcasts that I listen to, whether it be Oprah, Brene Brown, and all these. I'm trying to kind of mix and mash and bring it all in together. So there's a diversity of learning for me and for you, So that is the crack with this interview. As always, I'll thank Noel Roddy from Rooney Media Graphics, Lisa and Sandra from Shannon's Hope Line, Mental Health Warriors. Yeah, so I think that's all we have to thank. Keep checking us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I put up daily vlogs and vlogs. I cringe every time I say that about myself. I put up videos. I give my insights, my learnings from the podcast, the interviews, and just kind of give back. The interviews are every 2 weeks, and I thought maybe the vlogs in between will keep people's interest, keep our name out there, that they'll know what we're doing. And it's another form of, I suppose, giving back. I love learning. I love going through my own therapy. I love my own reading. And then I like to share it with people. So hopefully people are getting a benefit from that. So yeah, check us out on Instagram and all the other social media platforms. As always, I will absolutely beg you, give us a review on iTunes. Give us any kind of review, whether that's be texting me privately on DMs on Insta or Facebook. I love them, and it really helps us with the podcast. It really, for me, it really spurs me on. It makes me more creative when I hear that people are really engaging or applying it to their own life. So there you go. That's enough waffle out of me for today. So have a fantastic day, and as always, mind your little self and enjoy this interview. You deserve it. Have a great day. Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. On the show today, I'm joined by Denis Ryan. Denis, what's the crack?
How are you getting on, Matt? All good, all good.
I'm absolutely delighted to have Denis on the podcast today. Denis is a psychotherapist, but he's no ordinary psychotherapist. He's a biodynamic integrative therapist. Right? Biodynamic integrative therapist.
That's the one.
Is that correct?
That's it. Yeah.
That's a belter. That's the hardest one I possibly have ever had to say. So come here. How was your day been? How was life? How's life treating you?
Good. Life is good. Yeah, busy these days, but generally good. Can't complain.
What is a biodynamic therapist or psychotherapist?
So biodynamic psychotherapy is, I guess there's about 150 different types of psychotherapy, and biodynamic psychotherapy would be part of a branch of therapy called body psychotherapy. So the focus would be very much on the body and what's happening in the body. And with biodynamic, the principle we'd work on is the idea of wholeness. That, like, I guess the best way to describe it would be, say when you're born, like it's like a river flowing directly straight, and then through experiences and events in life, then that kind of river reaches different obstacles and blockages and becomes this really meandering thing, which like loses a lot of its force and energy. And then with biodynamic psychotherapy, we're kind of looking at the obstacles and looking at the blockages within the body and kind of removing them to bring more energy into the body. So to bring the body back to wholeness and wellness, really. So, yeah.
It's quite complex, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess like we'd work kind of, I guess, traditionally like talk therapy, but then we'd use different things. We'd use massage elements as well, or different elements to bring the person fully into their body. Because like the mind can go on and on and on, and we can constantly create stories and go over the past and everything, but the body really stores memory. So if we work at that moment and that time and place with the body, then we can really result in healing, I guess. Yeah.
Gotcha. Do you find it difficult to get people to buy into that piece, as in it's mind, body and soul, where people might think just come for, the prescription method, like just go and get a plaster stuck on it, that's just my mind, I get this sorted out, where it's easy for me to conceptualize, it's deep ingrained into the muscle, it's deep ingrained into that muscle memory. Is it hard to get people to buy into that?
I think it's getting more and more popular. Like body psychotherapy is really gaining in popularity at the moment. Things like somatic experiencing and things are getting, they're really, people want that kind of experience. I think people would have spent years in therapy just talking, and then it's like, oh, actually I can experience something or go into feelings, and then that really unlocks things. So it's really important, I think. So I think we're getting there. Yeah.
There is a culture shift, as you know, mindfulness is huge in the public domain.
Yeah.
Mindfulness, wellness, meditation. It's all becoming part of people's vocabulary now, isn't it, really?
Definitely. And you mentioned soul there as well, like mind, body and soul. And I think with that respect, I think people are looking for spirituality at the moment. I think like Ireland has changed so much in terms of spirituality. I think a lot of people maybe don't expect to find the soul element in psychotherapy, but it's a huge part of it, So I guess part of like the biodynamic psychotherapy is that it's humanistic as well. So we really hold the person with a perspective of wellness and wholeness, which I would translate as that kind of soul place of full well-being. So it's a really important part of the work, I think, as well.
It's interesting that you say that, Denis, that Ireland's becoming a bit more spiritual, but where we're closing down our thoughts on the Catholic Church, people would be, it's a kind of binary thing, spirituality, church, there's that thought, or people like, oh, does he mean the church? But it's nice to see that people are participating in spirituality, although it might be in the mindfulness or wrapped up in yoga, it's still we're moving back towards spirituality, although it's not driven by Catholicism.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not religion anymore. It's
No.
pure raw spirituality, and I guess we're kind of moving away from a place where we're told what is God and what's good and bad and stuff, and we're being empowered to find that ourselves, you know, and find our own connection with the divine in different places, and it's incredible, you know, for the people who are going on that path. It's really wonderful, but there's always that void that's created of people being like, oh well, if it's not the church, then what? And I think it's that invitation to a journey of self-exploration, which a lot of people are answering at the moment.
And it's nice, you know, and with the spirituality movement in Ireland and all that, people seem to have control of it. It's not driven by the Catholic Church, or not. No, I'm not dogging the Catholic Church. Absolutely not. I'm just saying it seems to be more. What way would I say this? They have control of it. They have onus on it. They can decide whether they want to go to yoga class, a meditation class. They want to practice Buddhism or whatever kind of the spirituality journey is. They can decide. It's not like you have the tyranny of should. It's not the tyranny of should. What do you think of that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's an empowered stance of spirituality. It's
I'm
like
choosing to go to yoga. I'm
definitely
choosing to decide what my spiritual practice looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just saying that's because that's me. I'm crazy about spirituality at the moment.
Yeah.
What was your route into this whole field of psychotherapy? What brought you on?
How long is the podcast, Matt?
Give us the short.
Yeah, I guess my mom is a holistic therapist, so it probably started there, I guess. So I kind of grew up with healing and spirituality kind of very present in the house, like, and then I guess when I was like 18, 19, really got into meditation, really got into energy healing, Reiki, all that kind of stuff, and like really began a kind of spiritual quest, I guess. And that brought me to many different places around the world, including Peru, where I did a lot of work with ayahuasca and different plant medicine, and then came back to Ireland and then ended up studying shamanism. And I think I had spent about like maybe 8 years exploring energy healing and exploring shamanism, all this. And then what I realized was that I was really comfortable in what we'd call like the transpersonal places, that really spiritual place of like love and light and the angelic realms and all that. And I wasn't really connected, you know. And I began working as a shamanic practitioner with clients, but there was just something really missing. And it was me, you know, it was me and my connection with myself and my body, I guess. So I made a decision to go back and study specifically body psychotherapy to ground myself fully in what I had learnt, and to be able to kind of meet people then on a body level, on a mind level, and on a spiritual level as well. Yeah, that's the very short version of it. Yeah.
Erwin Yalom has a beautiful quote. It says, "Only the truly affected can have effect." You know, that really resonates with me because I've had a difficult past, you know, childhood trauma, blah blah. I read somewhere on your website that you had difficulties in the past. Would it be okay to share some of that if you want to go lightly, or is that too deep?
Yeah, I can go. I probably won't go fully into it.
No, just to kind of get a perspective. I don't believe in I'm not interested in the fall, or interested in the fall. I'm more interested in the landing.
Yeah.
So kind of just to set the scene, maybe.
Yeah. I guess probably late teens. Probably would have had like a difficult teenage life. I know I would have been bullied quite a lot. Felt like an outsider quite a lot. And then that just kind of really escalated, I think. I'm always hesitant to use the word depressed, but there was just a really deep unhappiness within me, like, and I think when I explored it later, it was this sense of being completely unlovable. That was it. It was just
really
like.
I too was the same. You know, had periods where I don't really want to say depression. I don't really know what it was. It was definitely more. I think I could connect more with what you had said there a minute ago. I wasn't connected to myself, and there was this sense of unloved. You know, there's a great book over there, Perfect Love, Imperfect Relations, and it really talks about the feeling of unloved. So I think it was deep depression, I think depression was kind of episodial.
Yeah.
Or mine was deep rooted
Mm.
into me, ingrained in me, and it's still there. I've done a
Yeah.
lot of work with it. I've done lots of work on it. I'm in a great
Yeah.
place, but I can really resonate with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds really similar. So phase of depression would come and go, but there was always this constant weight of like, of deep sadness, really. Like, and I think part of my journey was, or the initial stage of my journey was to get away from those feelings as much as possible. So I would have used alcohol a lot. I would have used drugs a lot, just anything, just not to feel like. Yeah.
Masquerade as I just like the party.
Definitely, like, and to be seen as that in the world, and then behind closed doors was just this kind of this heaviness that I couldn't escape from. So
my dog, she's out there now, she has seen me crying more times than anyone in the whole world. This was my back cave. And I was just locked out to the world. It was just like, party. Used 4 days on the bounce, and I come here and I die for days.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate that. Sharing your vulnerability with me. Can we touch a little bit on the shamanic work that you did? I was struggling with that word shamanic.
Shamanic.
Aaron, we need to work on our pronunciation. Google's not working. Come on, Google. So could you share a bit about that with us?
Yeah.
I'm really interested in that.
So I went traveling with my brother to South America, and he was researching ayahuasca a lot, and he wanted to go to Peru to do work with this plant medicine called ayahuasca, which just a little bit about that is, so in indigenous communities they call it the soul or the vine of the dead. So the idea is that this medicine, as it were, allows the soul to kind of leave the body and go into deep healing states. So we ended up in Peru, and my brother ended up having to come back to Ireland, and I ended up staying in Peru and doing loads of work with this medicine. So kind of fell into it without
kind of serendipity.
Completely, yeah. So I hadn't really planned to do it, but ended up doing a lot of work then with it, like. So I ended up living in Peru for about 7 months and doing a lot of work with ayahuasca and another plant medicine called San Pedro.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him going to job. He has done that. You know? He's done ayahuasca retreats in Ireland.
Yeah.
So what was that like, the San Pedro?
San Pedro. So San Pedro is different. So ayahuasca would be, it's quite a feminine energy. San Pedro is quite a male energy. So while I definitely would have had more resonance with ayahuasca. Yeah, San Pedro, they're very, very different. So predominantly work with ayahuasca. Yeah.
So what involved the drumming, the shamanic? Can you talk a little bit about that? What's the role of a shaman?
So with in terms of plant medicine now, or in general?
No, actually, let's go back a bit. Let's go to the ayahuasca. Let's talk about that. What is it? What's involved? You know, what's the procedure per se? Because I've read a little bit on it.
Yeah. So ayahuasca is it's a combination of two main plants. It's the ayahuasca vine, and then this plant called chacruna. So it's the leaf from the chacruna. And when these are kind of combined, then they offer this experience. This
as DMT.
It's DMT. Yeah.
Then it's not the ayahuasca. What's the other plant you said?
Chacruna.
Is that the kind of let's say a stimulant for the DMT?
Yeah. So I think I'm trying to think of the actual science behind it. Yeah. I think it stops the body from rejecting it, so it allows it to be activated.
There's DMT in lettuce, and there's DMT in lots of things, isn't there?
There's DMTs in our bodies. So like near death experiences, the light, that people see when they have, if they die and then come back, that light. That's DMT being activated in the body. Deep meditation can activate the DMT in the body. Orgasm can activate DMT in the body. Childbirth as well, extreme pain. So it's a chemical that's within us, So ayahuasca, I guess, is a way of orally ingesting DMT. Really, it's fascinating though, because when you think of there's probably 15,000-20,000 plant species in the Amazon, but they somehow realize that if you put these two things together, it will give you this experience, which is incredible. But for the kind of native indigenous people or the native indigenous shamans there, they would just say, well, the plants told us, you know, because that's their level of communication. Of consciousness, exactly.
So I was reading a book at the moment, listening to a book called E Squared, you know, Pam Grout, and she's talking about, you know, being connected to the world, you know, speaking, telling the world what you want, and, you know, she was talking about plants communicating to each other.
Yeah.
Through this consciousness that we're all connected together. Like, you know, if you want to set your intentions, tell the universe what you want. You know, you say if you want to talk to another plant, one plant wants to talk to another plant. I know it's a bit far out there, probably. But
Not at all.
It resonates with me. I was like,
yeah.
It means we're all connected.
Definitely. And it's been proven now with like quantum physics and stuff. All of these things that were considered a little bit mad and out there are kind of being scientifically proven out, which is amazing. You know, science is catching up to consciousness almost, which is, yeah.
So when people, tell us about the process of taking ayahuasca, what do people do?
So then generally the kind of traditional setup with Peruvian shamanism would be to have a ceremony in a kind of dark space. So the shaman would be there and they'd sing healing songs called icaros, and then they would give people like each a little glass or a small glass of ayahuasca, which tastes disgusting, by the way.
Pours, don't they?
Yeah. And then you'd have like your mattress and your bucket, and then so then they sing. So the icaros are there to kind of lead the journey and lead the experience, and people experience very different things. So, like I said, purging, a lot of vomiting sometimes.
How much purging and vomiting go on for?
It's really hard to tell. It kind of enters this timeless space, I guess. So it's really hard to know how long the journey is going for. Generally it would be 4 to 6 hours.
And would you be conscious of getting sick? Would it be like that sickness like you have to have
No, it's really different. Yeah.
Right.
And it can be really different. Sometimes it depends. Sometimes it could be a quick purge. Sometimes there's no purge. Sometimes it's like really consciously you're really aware of something coming up and you know exactly what you're purging. Sometimes you're purging for something that you're not aware of. So it's really different. It puts a lot of people off it because people think, oh, I hate vomiting in front of people and stuff. But then when you're in there and in the space, those kind of inhibitions just kind of go a little bit. It's interesting with ayahuasca because a lot of people would say, oh, sure, that's just a drug or something. And only about 20% of people actually have visual hallucinations with ayahuasca. Only a small amount. So something that's a little bit controversial around ayahuasca is that some unethical shamans, I guess, in Peru, who wouldn't be doing it traditionally, who do it for kind of shamanic tourism, I guess, would add different herbs into the brew to guarantee that people will have different hallucinatory experiences.
Wow, I thought that was the main attraction to it. I said, all the stuff I read, the videos I watched, you know, the spirit molecule.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was that vision thing.
Yeah, so they're not that common really. So then it can be like a full body experience or just general awareness or consciousness or connection or really different things. It really varies for everybody. So it's not a kind of set, everybody will have the same experience. It's really kind of what will come up. It's interesting with ayahuasca because I've seen people drink like maybe 4 glasses of ayahuasca and nothing happens. And I've seen people drink like half a teaspoon of ayahuasca and they have a huge cathartic, full-blown experience. Yeah. So it really is a medicine, and the medicine has a consciousness. It's not like if you take a tab of acid or a pill and it's like whether you're ready or not, that's it, you're kind of gone. Like ayahuasca kind of knows where you're at and what you can handle, and it's I think it was only when I really witnessed that I was like, so this is medicine. You know, it's like, yeah.
That's fucking brilliant. I'm delighted to know that. Could you share us some of your experience when you first tried it? What did you see? What happened?
So it was intense. Yeah, very intense. It was beautiful actually. The first time I drank was really powerful. That it felt so incredibly familiar. That was the thing. And it almost felt like a welcome home. That was the predominant thing of like, welcome home. And I was surrounded by these beings being like, right, Denis, like let's get back to work almost. It was that feeling. So it was yeah, really, really powerful. Like, and then got progressively more challenging, I guess. Like, it's interesting because ayahuasca really, it's almost like a pipe cleaner, like, and she has little time for the ego, or it kind of flushes out the ego a bit. So I remember going to my second ceremony being like, no, like I got this, like, no problem. And then I was, yeah, no problem. Like, and I was floored, like absolutely floored. And my ego was completely crushed. Like, so it was really interesting, like learning how to work with the medicine and my intentions around the medicine, being like, was I there to have a trip and an experience, or was I there to heal, and the resistance to healing and all that came up. And yeah, I ended up going back to Peru twice. So I've probably had about 30 or so ceremonies with ayahuasca. So they're all very, very different, and they kind of changed in phases and intensity as well. So
fantastic. Had you done a lot of work of consciousness therapy prior to your first experience with ayahuasca? Would you have felt, you know what, I'm actually all right, as you said, your ego? Would you thought, yeah, I'm up there with my consciousness, I've done a lot of work on myself before that?
I thought I had, Matt, like, which was like the wonderful, even worse than the ego is the spiritual ego, like being like, no, I got this, like I'm super spiritual and I do Reiki and stuff. But that's like, it's almost, it's a more damaging trap. Like, but like I said, I wasn't connected to my body, so I was really comfortable with those transpersonal realms and all that, and that out there stuff. I was like, I knew that, but I couldn't ground it, or I couldn't actually take the insights that I was receiving. So say like that first time I came back from Peru, I was completely disconnected. It was really, really it was really tough to reconnect with reality, I guess, because I allowed myself to fully go out there, I guess. Which is why I kind of went to study traditional shamanism then in Ireland, just to ground that experience, just to kind of get a map of like what actually happened there. Because a lot of the time the experiences are so intense that it's really, really hard for the mind to process, never mind the body to process. And I guess that's what kind of brought me on a journey towards psychotherapy, was the desire to do integration work with people, because the insights and the value of this medicine is huge, but then it's pointless if we can't take the lessons and integrate them into our lives and make positive changes. Otherwise it just ends up in this like, oh wow, I had this amazing experience, or this really difficult experience, but we need to connect it, we need to bridge it somehow. So yeah.
That's a fascinating point. And yeah, I had a point there, we're going to go back and I lost it. Probably back to what we were saying earlier, people might not buy into the whole plant-based medicine, but then if you're back to the humanistic side and you're looking at the person's whole, the psychotherapy then kind of does that, and then you can bring them along if they're ready to go on the other journey. Would that be kind of correct?
So I don't fully understand.
So the fact that you done the shaman to become a shaman and the spirituality, not everybody that's looking for therapy will buy into that side of it.
Yeah.
They might not be ready, their conscious and not might be ready, but if you go down the medical model like with the psychotherapy and you just treat them that way, they might then, it's another tool to your armor.
Yeah. It's just another tool, and I wouldn't use it with all my clients, So some clients it would be very clear psychotherapy, some clients it would be a kind of mix. So it's not, it's never kind of like, okay, we'll start with psychotherapy and then we'll end up with kind of shamanic stuff. It's like, it's whatever the person needs, really, I guess. But it's another tool there that if they need some assistance around that, then that tool is there.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
What is the role of a shaman in the whole ceremony? What does he do? Does he knit it all together? Does he keep people safe? What do they do?
A little bit of both. Like the shaman is there to lead the ceremony, so one to kind of protect the space, keep the space safe. So I guess on a consciousness level, the space gets energetically quite open. So in terms of different energies or entities, that space needs to be protected from them. And then the shaman there is to lead the journey, really, to kind of tune in energetically with people within the ceremony, and using the ikaros or the intention of the songs to lead them down or up, or
Yeah. And would there be a collective? Would there be a collectiveness with the group, or would he pick up on individuals, or he just? What way does that work?
it would be different. You can kind of get a sense of. I end up doing some work with a shaman over there and kind of co-facilitating a few ceremonies, and it was quite interesting to get a sense of you can really sense the room, like the energy of the room in general, and then see the kind of ebb and flow of energies within that room.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all kind of happening at once, but yeah, so it is the collective of the room, but also people are having their individual experiences. But some people are quite content, or they're in a place that's okay, and then sometimes the energy then will come up to, and somebody else will go through something quite cathartic, so they'll need some support. And yeah.
Could we talk about maybe what are the benefits of it? Maybe the benefits, maybe the side effects, safety. Could we cover a couple of those that people might be interested in?
Yeah.
Let's start off with the benefits of it. What would you think that would be the benefits of ayahuasca experience, or even San Pedro?
It's interesting.
Or plant-based medicine.
Yeah, chatting to indigenous people in the Amazon, they all think we're mad going over to Peru doing ayahuasca, like, because they see it very much as, if you're really ill, then you go to the shaman and work with ayahuasca. So they don't understand why there's floods of Westerners, because it's so popular over there, going to drink this stuff.
I was going to go last year. I went to Peru, and then just dragged me back to Thailand. Maybe wanted to hang out with monks, and I had been on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wanted to go. Still want to do this next year. Not Peru, but definitely ayahuasca.
Yeah. So the benefits of it then, I think, in terms of traditionally how it would be used is would be illness or soul loss is really. So if people are depressed over there, then that's what they'd see it as, a soul issue, and as opposed to a medical issue. So they'd use the medicine then to kind of support with that. So it's like, I guess, say in Native American tradition, it's like depression. The first question the shaman would ask somebody who was depressed is, when did you stop singing and when did you stop dancing? And that's how they work with people.
Wow.
So when did you disconnect with that innate joy? So they have a very different approach to it. So in terms of benefits, that's one reason why people would use it. And then I guess what we have is society, the Western society in general, which is, I guess, compared to other societies that live in harmony with nature and stuff, we live in a little bit of a sick society, like, so we're carrying a lot of that, like the stresses of the Western world are really, really heavy. So any kind of work with plant medicine can open up different awareness about different aspects of ourselves or our conditioning, and yeah, it can cause huge transformation if used correctly, like. Yeah. In terms of safety, I guess, because it's become really, really popular, there's loads of unsafe ways of using ayahuasca, and loads of people offering ayahuasca in unsafe, unheld situations. So I'd really flag that, if you're going to do it, then make sure you know who you're doing it with, and do it in the right place with the right person that's really, really held. I've heard horror stories of people in London just doing it casually, as a kind of, bit of crack on a Saturday night,
Wow.
So, which is devastating,
It's like the Ouija board or something like that, isn't it?
Definitely.
Don't fuck around with things like that.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Not my gig.
No, because it's a sacred plant, and it's a sacred medicine, and it needs to be kind of taken respectfully. I think if people are looking to go on a trip and all that, then there's other ways of exploring the unconscious without ayahuasca. It's not a drug, so
Yeah, gotcha. What's the kind of, is there side effects to it? Like if you do it properly, if you go to the with a shamanic, and you go to Peru, is there side effects to it as well?
just the purging, really. Yeah, the purging, and I guess it's a huge catalyst, Matt. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't know what they're getting into. I didn't know fully what I was getting into, and even though I had done a solid bit of work, I thought, but actually I hadn't, So it's a catalyst for experience. So it pretty much brings up your stuff and it goes, there's your stuff, you know, and doesn't necessarily show you how to deal with it.
How does it do that if you don't see the visuals? Because the guy that I know and he's done in, he has taught me, you know, he's seen visions of his mother and other stuff. And I know, wow, that sounds fantastic. So how does it do that for you if you don't see the visuals? I'm a little stuck on that.
So the visuals I'm talking about are the kind of traditional. So there's like really traditional. They're considered like the ayahuasca visuals of like really bright colors and kind of like trippy. We'd consider them quite trippy. So they're the ones that are only 20% of experience. The other part is general journeying, which will be a kind of shamanic thing anyway. So that would be the imagination. So it could play like I've had journeys where like it's like a film being played in front of me. So I'm having, you know, yeah.
So I just process it from the the visuals of the colours and like
yeah.
I've done this sensory deprivation tank, and that was the closest thing I got to taking acid.
Yeah.
I was down this rabbit hole, and there was a bright light and purples and colours, and that was mad. I loved it. I was going through a difficult period. It was around that time in 2018, and my brother got me as a present. But yeah, it was fascinating. The colours. Have you ever experienced that?
No, it's on my list. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get the details off you for to do that. Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, so there is a visual, but it's not the psychedelic colours that people think.
And like that with ayahuasca, Matt, like if anyone's thinking of doing it, I'd be like, explore other things like that, for example, sensory deprivation, to get a sense of what it's like to go into non-linear reality, I guess.
So
you know?
That kind of segues me to my next question. What would the route be that you would advise people? My thoughts around it would be look after your mind, body and soul. There's tons of work need to be done before you start exploring that kind of realm or spirituality. I think it's another step up. I hope that's not me and my spiritual ego going, you're not ready yet. I just think there's a lot more work to be done, you know, sleep, drink, hydration, all your look after your body, engage in therapy.
Yeah.
And then if you feel that your consciousness is ready, then maybe explore that. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a step by step. Like if I was, it's weird because like it really felt like serendipity that I went when I did and did the work I did, but it's like, if I was back there now, I don't know if I would have taken that leap. You know, there was really clear things in my life that I wasn't addressing. So it took me years to really digest the experience and the teachings from ayahuasca, because there was just really core things I wasn't willing to look at, you know. So I remember, like, say that one of the first sessions, ayahuasca made it very clear I shouldn't be drinking. It was like, give up alcohol, you know, like really point blank, very clear message. And that's something that I still haven't fully done, you know. So it's like, okay, right. So then what's the point of continuing and going into these realms and these experiences if I can't actually integrate the experience, you know, and actually live out the teachings? So, and again, I think this is about like mind, body, spirit being aligned. Like my mind and my soul was like on this, like, I just want to do and learn and explore and have these experiences. But my body was really struggling, you know, and my body was really trapped in pain and sadness and, you know, still drinking to numb that, while my mind was, you know, having these really phenomenal, you know, transpersonal experiences, but they were so out of sync, you know. So it's like, okay, how can all of those, if all of them, like if I fully brought my body with me to these experiences, then wow, that would be way more powerful and way more beneficial for me, you know.
Okay. Are you there now with it? Like, do you think, have you caught on, as I'm listening to you, on mind, body and soul, am I aligned as much as I might think? I hadn't asked myself that question. I was just doing that there. That thought process was like, maybe I'm not. There's a crossover sometimes. Then there's
definitely. Yeah. And it's a tough one to know, I guess. It's about checking in. It's about space. I'm reading this really great book at the moment called The Mind Illuminated. It's like this, it's like a step-by-step guide for, it's like neuroscience plus mindfulness in one. It's amazing. Who's the author? I can't remember his name. He is, I think he's a Buddhist monk, I think. But he's talking about like the 10 stages of mindfulness, for example, and how it goes into things like insight and teachings and learning, like all these really powerful things that we can experience through meditation practice. But the very first step is daily practice. It's sitting down every day for daily practice. And if you fail on step one, then he says you need to go back to intention and motivation, and that's it. And it's so beautiful, because it's like we need to, like, because the insights and the healing and all of that are really tempting, and it's like, oh, just bring me to the good stuff, you know. But actually discipline and consistency, it's like, okay, well, if I can master those core things, then even if I get to insight and healing, then it's not going to be fully grounded, because it needs to be grounded fully in the here and now.
It's the simplistic process. What diet works? Consistency. What gym program works? Consistency.
Yeah.
You're not going to do anything you don't turn up.
Definitely.
I have never been so consistent with my practice since I started a meditation group on Facebook. I do this live meditation.
Brilliant.
I do it in service of myself, so I will be accountable. I can't say that I do something if I don't do it. So now my consistency is there because of that. And I really resonate that you need to do it every day, even if it's a small practice, isn't it?
Definitely. So they're the core things that I think keep mind, body and spirit in line, you know. So if I'm not sitting down and doing my daily practice, then is my mind too busy, or am I too stressed? And if I can't make, 15 minutes space for myself in a day, then that's something that I need to look at. So then that needs to get all my attention.
Absolutely. Who says? Is it the Dalai Lama says if you can't sit down for 15 minutes meditation, do 2 hours?
Yeah.
I always say that about my break. If I can't take a cup of tea, I have to take 2 hours.
Brilliant. Yeah, so true.
Where are we as in Ireland with the legality of ayahuasca, and what can people avail of it? What's the
Yeah, so I guess I'm not involved in that side of the things here, Matt. I know there are ceremonies happening in Ireland. I don't know
Should people go to Peru or go to Brazil, or what do you think? What's your knowledge on
my gut is always go to where the plant is, because I would have done a lot of ayahuasca in the Andes, up in the mountains in Peru. And then I went to the jungle to do it. And in the jungle, like the home of the plant, you can feel it, the energy is there. So it was a totally different experience. So I'd recommend if people have the means and, if they can do it, then definitely go there.
Yeah. It was definitely on my to-do list last year, but just something dragged me back towards Thailand. And I went now because I got to hang out with some monks, and it was a brilliant experience. But I think Peru might be on my to-do list. Aaron, what's the story? Do you want to come to Peru? We do some ayahuasca. What?
Not a chance.
You have some workshops coming up on the 11th and the 22nd, two that I'm signed in for. One is the plant-based medicine workshop, and the other is the mindfulness, the trauma mindfulness.
Embodied Mindfulness.
Embodied mindfulness.
Yeah.
Would you tell us a little about them and what people could get if they went to one? Definitely going to go signed up.
So the plant-based medicine workshop is pretty much for people who've done work with any plant medicine, be it ayahuasca or San Pedro or even mushrooms, and want to kind of integrate that experience a little bit more. So I guess it's based on what brought me into psychotherapy in the first place, was to work to help bridge these experiences a little bit more. And a lot of people go by themselves, Matt, and then they come back and there's no friends or family, or they don't have friends who are into spirituality or into healing, and then they're kind of left with these really profound experiences, and there's no place to put them or discuss them. So part of it, I guess, is to create a space like that where people can go and meet other people who've had similar experiences. And then part of it is to use I guess guided visualization and different techniques like mandala drawing, art therapy, to help integrate and ground experiences. So really to kind of use shamanic journeying to go back, reconnect with an experience, and then bring it into the here and now, and bring it into I guess a future action plan. So how can you really embody this experience and use it so that it's not just kind of left out in space and in the mind, to really bring it into the body. And then the embodied mindfulness one is looking at different biodynamic principles. So I love mindfulness a lot, but I also think there's huge trips in mindfulness. Like it can be really used to just kind of switch off from what's happening in our body, and to be like, I'm just going to quiet my mind now, but actually the mind and the body are going, they're full of rage or full of anger. So So it's about kind of, okay, well, how can we be really mindful of what's happening in our body and give that space, because it's really, really important. So it's really, yeah, it's an experimental workshop, I guess, looking at different charge in our body. So how we relate to energy in our body, how we cut off our energy, how do we switch on our energy, and then when we put that with somebody else, then what happens, you know? So if I'm by myself and I feel great, and then suddenly I'm face to face with somebody, suddenly I'm like, oh no, I'm not so great now. Now I'm a little maybe suspicious or distrustful.
What is the core of that? What's going on there?
So that, I guess, with biodynamic psychotherapy, we look at the vertical and horizontal axis. So the vertical axis is like how I am with myself and my feelings, and how easy my feelings flow. So I feel sad, I express sadness. I feel anger, I express anger. That would be the ideal. And then the horizontal is the connection with the other. So I might have a great relationship with myself and I have no problem expressing my emotions when I'm alone, but suddenly I'm with somebody else and then I go into complete shutdown. So this is all down to, like, I guess, without going too psychotherapeutic with it, is parent relationships, relationship issues, attachment issues, all of this. So love him, yeah.
Have one of his books over here, Scattered Minds, about ADD and children and adults. I reckon I'm on the verge. I think I have ADD. I think I was undiagnosed as a child.
Yeah.
And I read that book. I was like, that fucking sounds like me. That's me. You know, I'm saying I did read a book about pregnancy one time, and I thought it was so, you know, I'm joking. But I know I could so relate to some of the stuff. I go, that's me, that's so me. And I was telling my parents and my kid, my daughter, she's like, yep, I got this out after years ago. I was like, fuck, no one tell me. I didn't know. But, he does amazing work, our Matt. He does attachment and addiction and childhood trauma.
Yeah, no, he's incredible. In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, I read that, and it's
is that good, is it?
Yeah, it's mind blowing. Just about it's about addiction in general, and about how we're all kind of addicts, you know. But we separate that into good addicts, bad addicts.
100%.
You know, so it's really easy to judge people on the street that we see using, but then we completely ignore the fact that we're workaholics, and so it's like.
I've seen psychotherapists and psychologists and psychiatrists glued to their phone.
Yeah, definitely.
Conferences, and I've just seen them, and think they're doing work. I've seen them do it on Facebook. They're on it, and I go, I think you're an addict as well.
Definitely, yeah. And this is what he talks about. He talks about like the kind of brain connections around that and the core brain patterns that make up an addict, you know. But I'm fascinated by that division, how we split the kind of shadow addicts into like, we've categorized them somehow, whereas actually we should all be supporting each other and really empathizing with people we see who are like trapped in severe drug addiction, because we're going through similar things ourselves, you know.
That's interesting you say that. I only put a video up on Facebook last night saying about somebody had said from around my area that some kid was little bollocks and he was horrible. And I was like, man, you don't know how that kid has grown up. You don't know what their parents was like, you know. But people jumped in on the fact that I was saying to give this kid an easy life. But what I was trying to say was try understand.
Yeah.
Whether it's an addict, whether it's somebody done something bad, whatever. It wasn't about the person or the kid. It was just about understanding.
Yeah.
Try to understand what it's like for another human being.
Definitely.
You lay all their cards on the table and go, fuck, I didn't know all that happened to you.
Yeah.
Did that happen to your mother? And Gabor Maté talks about generational pain.
Yeah.
What happened to the nanny? She led it on to the man. The man
definitely.
To the kid. It's not the kid, just fucking 3 generations back.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, we never know what's happening with people, like, and there's such a lack of empathy in society. It's like we don't have time just to take a moment to be like, okay, I don't know what's happening with that person. Like, we react, or I think it triggers our stuff, Matt. Like, it's just like, so we don't have that moment to empathize, because we can barely empathize with ourselves. So it's how can we introduce compassion to ourselves and then use that to be compassionate towards others, really.
Absolutely. Come here. Since I have started to develop, I keep checking my ego now about my spirituality. Since I've developed a higher sense of self.
Yeah, since you're enlightened now, Matt.
Since I become the Dalai Lama, I wear sandals with the stockings on.
Yeah, you're currently levitating there from the couch, Matt.
Aaron, this is not ready break I had this morning. The flow was real. I have, since I've developed a sense of awakeness, right, and not much. I'm experience a lot of synchronicity moments, you know, numbers, similar things happen, like me coming across you on Facebook when I'm interested in plant-based medicine. What's your thoughts around synchronicity? And I've tons of them I could tell you about. What's your thoughts on it?
I think it's a really, I think for me it's about being in the flow. It's like, they're like little reminders of being in the flow, that everything is kind of where it should be. And I'm curious about them, Matt, because I've had huge moments of synchronicity in my life, but then they can almost become crutches then as well. Because I remember similar like that, numbers were like a really big thing. If I saw like 555 or 1111, it was like, wow, you know, they were
444 111 1515.
Yeah. So then there's like, an attachment then develops to them. So then I'd have like a time being like, oh, I haven't seen that number in about 2 months. I must be doing something wrong, you know? Yeah. Exactly. Like, so the mind can then use that as a hook, like, whereas actually we're always in the flow. Like, we're always here and being and doing. So now for me, it's like, oh, they're beautiful little reminders, but I think I had started seeking for them, or I needed them almost, you know? So it's like, yeah, flipping through phone books just to see numbers, like, you know.
Watching the clock every hour to see 12 as well.
Exactly, like, yeah.
So. Yeah, I do see them as little signs and synchronicity moments. You know, I do have them so many. You know, I was meant to go on a boxing training with a guy. I was hoping he wouldn't go, so I could go back to the Buddhist center. And he rings me up and tells me he couldn't go. And I was like, that's synchronicity.
Verdant. Yeah.
It's fantastic. I don't know. Maybe it just gives me a warm fuzzy feeling that we're on the
right path.
Maybe it's just me being easier on myself. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
How well is your meditation practice? Do you meditate a lot?
I always thought I had a really good meditation practice until I read step 1 of having a very clear daily meditation practice. I really got into, I did Vipassana years ago, so I really enjoyed that. But then I started reading a lot of Thich Nhat Hanh in Plum Village. So I love the idea of walking meditation and active meditation. So I use that as a really good excuse not to do daily practice, because I was like, I'll just meditate when I'm walking to work, and you know. But now, so I'm returning now to like proper kind of more disciplined sitting meditation again. So.
One of my listening to at the moment, The Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh.
I haven't listened to it. No.
Yeah, no. So I do it all on Audible. Oh, another one over there at the Belter, Awareness by Anthony DeMello.
Okay. I need to get recommendations off you now. Yeah.
Look, this is the spiritual den. It used to be full of cans and yolks. Now it's Buddhas and spirituality.
Brilliant.
Milani actually would be ashamed of me, because she used to sit in a chair like this drinking vodka. And I was here for Strong. Now look, I'm wrecked the cat. Surrounded by ghosts and spirituality. Before we wrap up, and we're coming to an end, and I really appreciate your time. It's fantastic, and the knowledge you've given me. What's the one thing you would like people to take away after listening to this interview?
I think it's the mind, body, soul connection. I think a little bit keeping them in balance. You know, spiritual bypassing is it's a huge issue these days. Of people on a spiritual journey, but they're using it for disconnection. You know, it's like, oh, I'm just really spiritual, so I'm not going to look at my negative feelings or my pain or my sadness or my anger or these things that we think are negative, but are really not. Like, they're really important feelings that are part of our body and our experience and the memory of our body. So it's keeping all of those in check, I think, is really, really important. And I think, just another thing came up in terms of like linear. It's never a linear path. You know, it's never I'm going to do this and then that, and then I'll be here and then I'll be there. It's really not that simple, unfortunately.
It's not. If I do that, then that'll be grand. And if I do that, you know, I use that a lot. If I do this, this will be the product of that. And if I done this now, I'm just kind of, I accept what is. You know?
Which is kind of checking in, you know. It's like taking a moment with yourself, being like, you know, if and then are very mind orientated, but actually, okay, just gotta take a second just to breathe and just to see how I'm actually feeling, and okay, how do I feel now, you know? So really,
I sit in my bed in the morning and I check where am I, what am I at today, what's going on. I can tell within seconds. I'll feel the lightness, heaviness, unsureness of where I'm at and today I got up and I just wasn't game on. And I just didn't do it to do this. I'm just going to get through today. I'm looking forward to the interview. There's a bit of a talk to do.
Yeah.
And I said, that's my intention for today. No
Brilliant,
expectations.
brilliant. So going easy on yourself.
Going easy on myself.
Yeah.
I'd never done that. I used to remember people say, be kind to yourself, be kind. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Now I know what it means. It's just like, you know what, going to work is going to be done. I'm going to ring my door. I'm going to do this. That's enough. That is enough.
Yeah.
Not like 25 things. You must do this. You must do that. You know that voice in the back of your head telling you.
Definitely.
You should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. What a belter of an interview. I'm glued to your eyes. You say the eyes are the window to your soul.
Yeah.
There's something amazing about your eyes. There's something amazing about your spirit. And I absolutely love it. I'm not just blowing smoke up your hole. I really believe you when you say that you're in touch with all that you do. You embody that. Where can people find you? What do you do for people? What's the service? Give us a little sell on what you get you and what you can give them.
Yeah, so I guess Facebook, it's Denis Ryan Psychotherapy. I have a website, denisryantherapy.ie. And then I have private practice out by Bagot Street. So I offer private psychotherapy sessions. So I really believe that therapy needs to be accessible for everyone. So I offer like low cost sessions as well as regular fees. So I try to kind of keep a balance with that. So, and that's an ethos I'm really trying to develop with my practice. Like if people want therapy, they should have therapy. So there's that private practice, and then courses as well. So I'm running kind of these ones now in November, and then next year as well I'll be running more. So I guess it's that it'll be a little bit of shamanic work, a little bit of psychotherapy work, and seeing where that work takes me. Shamanic.
What a tongue twister. Shamanic.
Shamanic. Let's go with shamanic. Shazam.
Well, we're going to put up all your contact details in the show notes. We'll let people know. I'll definitely share your courses. I want people to go. I think it's brilliant. I'm not forcing people down that. I'm just kind of trying to open people's eyes up. I didn't know that. But I would also encourage people to read, educate themselves. You know, the answer is not down the end of a bottle with pills or drink and all that. Pills can help. You know, things can help. You know, you'll find your way. War will find his way. But there's so much more out there that you can take control of your life and your. Definitely,
Matt. Definitely. And there's so many supports out there. Like there really, really are. So explore them. You know, reach out. Like, don't suffer in silence. I always say it. Like so.
Denis Ryan, Biodynamic Psychotherapist. I am honoured to have you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Legend.
Cheers.